We moved away from commas and now we're going to go to semicolons. And semicolons are a fun piece of punctuation. They really, when you use them correctly, they really add some flavor and spice to your writing, so you're not just having sentence after sentence after sentence. You can use a semicolon and be a little bit more creative with your writing. And the first rule with a semicolon is that you want to use a semicolon to separate independent clauses and items in a series when items themselves contain commas. So what we're going to talk about first is using a semicolon to separate two independent clauses. And again, I don't think we've talked about independent clauses yet, but all that is a complete sentence. It needs nothing else to make sense, to be a complete thought. It is a complete sentence. So if you, instead of either having a period or having a fanboy and a comma, you can just use a semicolon to join the two related independent clauses. So if you look at the examples, you have the fern is drooping, comma, so it must need water. All right, we know that to the right of the fanboy, so is a complete sentence, and to the left of the comma is a complete sentence. So since the two sentences are related to one another, which means they go together, they're talking about the same subject, we can just add a semicolon between them, as in the second example. This fern is drooping, it must need water. So that's usually the most common way that you see semicolons used. And I highly suggest using them in your writing so you can avoid using periods so often, or even a fanboy and a comma so often. And then the other rule is that you use semicolons to separate items in a series when the items themselves contain commas. Okay, that sounds really complicated and complex, but it's really not. And the example pretty much shows you what we're talking about. Whenever you list like a country or a city and then a state, or a country and then a continent or something, you usually have commas between them. Well, if you don't use semicolons, all you have is a bunch of commas. And it looks atrocious, and it also doesn't make any sense. So you want to use semicolons within items that already have commas between them. So this summer we are planning to visit Barcelona, comma Spain, Lisbon, comma Portugal, and Paris, comma France. So essentially, the semicolons just take place of the commas. So here, I think you only have four. Yes, you only have four sentences to do. You need to write the sentences and you need to add semicolons or commas where needed. There may be situations where you need both semicolons and commas. You really got to stop and think, do I need one here because it's grammatically correct? Not, do I need one here because this is where I pause or this is where it looks good? Remember what I said earlier, whenever we started commas, you don't just put a punctuation somewhere because you think it goes there. It has to follow a grammatical rule. So good luck and practice using semicolons and commas.